Alright, hey guys, this is Abby Lamphere, and this is a kind of quick how-to video taking you through section 1 of digital art and looking at the assignment 1A. But the very first thing we're going to look at is Inkscape. This is the program we're going to be working in throughout this course. And I already have it open here, and this is what it all looks like. So first of all, I'm going to just kind of run through the basics with you. At the top here is what's called the menu bar. Okay, this has all the commands that are available in Inkscape, and you'll go through all the commands before you use them as we go through the text. Next we have the command bar, which is the second row here. This has a lot of shortcuts for you to use, like saving, printing, cutting, pasting, all that good stuff. Next is the tools controls bar, which this can change as depending on what tool you're using. It'll change what options you can do with it. So this again is the tools control bar, and it changes with whichever tool you're using, which brings me to my next topic is the toolbox. Okay, the toolbox has buttons for all the different tools in Inkscape. This lets you do things like select, draw, modify objects, and then the mouse pointer, as you mouse over it, it'll tell you which tool it is you're mousing over. So you'll be using all those tools as we go throughout this course. This main part in here, where you see kind of what looks like a blank canvas, because that is your canvas. Alright, this is where you'll be creating all of your amazing art designs. And then down here is our color palette, and as you scroll back and forth, you can see the different colors and shades. We'll get more into that as we go, because you can choose all sorts of different colors, and as you move along the scroll bar there at the bottom, you'll see all the different shades of different colors. And then also along the side here, you'll see rulers. So you can, we'll get to how you can change the view on these rulers to see inches, centimeters, pixels, whatever it is the directions are asking you to see. So for the very first part of this section 1 assignment A, what they talk about most importantly is to save your document. And it has very specific ways for you to save your document. Let me pull over this window here. When you get to the page that says save your project, it walks you through step by step on how you should be saving, where to save it, and even what to name it. So this says to click file name and then type lines. So we're going to save this first project as lines, and you should have it in the appropriate section folder. You should have downloaded a bunch of folders when you first went through the course overview, so just put it in the correct folder that you downloaded. And then we're going to call this lines because it instructed us to. So then you click onto the next page, and it talks about the pencil tool, which is what we'll do. So the first few things they have you do with the pencil tool is just to draw some dots. So very, very simple. They're just kind of like introducing you to the tool. And right away, I didn't read the directions very carefully. So it says when you hold down Control and click, that's what creates dots. Notice how before I wasn't holding Control down and I clicked, and then this line attaches to my mouse. So make sure you're holding down Control and clicking to make these different dots. Okay, now that we have our dots, we're going to look at the Zoom tool, which is over here on your menu bar. So we can click our Zoom tool, and we can click in a whole bunch of times to zoom in and see what our dots look like. You can see zoom out up here, or you can hold down Shift and click for zoom out. Just regular click without a shift, you will zoom back in. Or you can simply kind of click and drag over the area you want to zoom in on to get a good zoom in shot. So you can either, again, you can click, shift click to zoom out, or click and drag to zoom in on a specific area. So I'll zoom back out of that. And next we're going to look at the pencil tool again. And with drawing straight lines, all you have to do is click and release and drag, and you'll see this line kind of follow. You'll see that red line that tells you where your line is going to be. So once you click, release, and drag, and click again, that creates your line for you. So again, just simple click, release, and drag, click again, and there's another, and it's a nice straight line that it creates for us. And if we're for some reason not happy with it and we wish to undo that, you can either use your undo options up here. These arrows are undo and redo. You can only go back though a certain amount of time, so make sure you're not getting too ahead of yourself before you start clicking. Or if you click to draw a line and you decide, ooh, never mind, I didn't want that line there, before you click again, you can hit escape and it just kind of cancels you drawing out that line. So click, and I don't want that line anymore, just hit escape and it disappears. And then what you can also do with this pencil tool is if you click, maybe you want a specific degree of a line on your page. If you click and hold down Control, you'll notice that instead of the free range that my line has now, when I start to hold down Control, it skips every 15 degrees. So maybe you want a perfectly perpendicular 90-degree angle or 45-degree angle or whatever it is you want. You can just hold that Control option and it moves up 15 degrees for you. So that is the last part of the lesson, lesson 3. So then when you move on to lesson 4, it has you save and close and then reopen it. So in case you're coming back another day, but I'm going to go ahead and move into lesson 4 right now. And it talks a lot about, talks to you more about the undo and redo tool. So I'll go over those again real quick. In lesson 4, they have you draw a few more dots, which again, by holding Control and click, allows me to do lots of dots rapidly. And then I can go under Edit. I showed you there's the shortcuts up here for undo and redo, but I could also go under Edit and undo history. And it has a list of all the things I've done up to a certain point. And I can kind of click on, I can click to a certain spot in my undo history and it'll undo up until that point. So you can see it'll clear out some of my dots, or I can add them back. Just depends on how far back you want to go. So that is in your undo history up in the Edit menu. And next they have you again experiment with the pencil tool. So now instead of straight lines, we're going to do some freehand drawing. So in order to just do some freehand drawing, you just hold your mouse down while you click and draw whatever you'd like. So you'll notice instead of the red line that you see when we're just doing a click and release and drag, you see that red line. When we're doing freehand, you'll see a green line. That lets you know that you're holding the mouse down to draw this freehand line. So it's really hard to get a freehand line nice and straight. You're definitely going to want to use just the straight line tool for that. Freehand, though, is more for just kind of getting creative and see, and I should use straight lines for my rays on this sun here. So experiment back and forth with your freehand and the straight line, both a part of the pencil tool. Okay, next we're going to look at how to resize some of our objects once we've already drawn them. So for that I'm going to need the selection tool up here, which is at the very top, and it's the arrow looking tool. And I'm going to go in onto my dots here and say I want to make some of them a little bit bigger. So I can click on my selection tool, then click on the dot, and you'll notice all these arrows that appear. So I can drag these arrows to reshape and reform my dot any way that I please. Okay, so go in and reshape some of your dots. And then you'll also notice if you click to select and change a dot and you hold down Control, you'll notice that it stays in a nice even form. So it doesn't allow me, if I'm not holding Control, it can distort and just goes whichever way I'm resizing it, whichever way my mouse goes. But again, if I'm holding Control down, it keeps it even on both sides as I click to drag. So if you want to make sure something stays proportional on both sides, you're going to want to hold Control down. Something else I can do with my selection tool is, let me zoom out a little bit here, I can rotate objects. So if I have my line up here, again, I could resize it by using these arrows and stretch it out, make it thin, whatever. I could resize it. Or if I click again, you'll notice that my arrows turn a little more curved, and that allows me to rotate that object. So let me show you that again. So this is just clicking to select it once gives me the arrows to resize, the straight arrows. If I click in there again, that's what gives me the curved arrows and allows me to do some rotating. So you can also rotate from side to side like that. So one click gets you the straight arrows, 2 clicks gets you the curved arrows. If I wanted to maybe move or resize several objects at once, let me zoom back out here. I can select more than one object at once by holding down my Shift key. So say I want both of these lines selected. If I click on one, hold down Shift, and click on, as long as I'm holding Shift down, I can click on multiple objects, and I can resize all of those at once. I could move them all together. I could, if I click again, I could rotate all of them however I'd like. So you can click and drag to do that. Shift and click to select multiple items. Or, say I wanted to select all these dots, I can click and drag over everything that I would like to move and move them that way. I can increase it again, oops. If I click again, I can rotate everything. So to select multiple objects at once, again, you either click and hold down Shift to click, or you click and drag over your selection. So that is it for Lesson 4 in Section 1. But when I click on Assignment 1A, you'll see it has a checklist that I have lines drawn, straight lines, freehand lines, dots of different sizes, and then it has this little short add-on list that I'm going to have to do now to finish up Assignment 1A. So first it says to make sure that this lines is open. One thing I'm going to do is save it again real quick because I haven't saved in a while. And then it says on the pencil tool controls, click the shape drop-down list and triangle in. So I need my pencil selected, and then this is the shape drop-down list. And I have triangle in, triangle out, ellipse, and from clipboard. So it tells me to use triangle in first, and it says to draw straight and freehand lines with the triangle in pencil shape. So what happens here, you'll notice that as you click and release and drag, you'll get a nice straight line and it just looks like a triangle. Or if I were to click and hold down and do some freehand stuff, it just kind of gives it a nice little effect to whatever it is I'm drawing. So that is the triangle in button. And then it also says to experiment with triangle out, which same thing. Can just give me some nice straight lines or some freehand ones. And then it also says to experiment with the ellipse tool. So the ellipse tool just kind of gives you a nice straight oval, or if you click and drag, you can get some funky stuff going. Okay, so just experiment with those tools a little bit. And the last thing it wants us to use is this from clipboard option. So we're going to use our select tool and select any freehand line that we've drawn. Then we're going to put, once we have that line selected, we're going to hold down Control and C at the same time and then release them at the same time. And that means that the image is copied. So then when we go back to our pencil and say from clipboard, it's going to copy the shape of the line that we drew. So it doesn't copy it exactly, but it kind of, it copies the shape. So you can see like that shape is mimicked in the line. So kind of fun, just some neat little abstract things you could add to your work. So that is it for the add-ons that it tells me to do in Assignment 1A. I'm going to save my work one more time, and then something you should do is just to go through this checklist to make sure you've completed all those items, zip your files, and then submit them to the appropriate Dropbox.